Greetings, brothers and sisters. Of course, I'm Pastor Covington, and this is another edition of Conversations with Covington. Glad that you are joining me today. I pray that you're having a wonderful day, and even if you're not, if you miss one, it's a bad day. Listen, glad to have you. Today, I am so excited to have with me a special guest. As you know, we are in the political season. And we are in the season of us exercising our right, our franchise to vote. And I did not want to miss any opportunities to share in our conversations with Covington those that are running for office. And today, I'm blessed to have Mr. Anthony Pierce, who is running for County Commission for Alamance County. So, greetings.
Greetings, sir.
And welcome to Conversation, Covington. All right, tell us a little bit about yourself, man.
So I'm Anthony Pierce. I've been here in Alamance right at around 13, 14 years now. Born and raised in North Carolina, but came from Durham. And my wife drugged me kicking and screaming, who was born here in Alamance and raised in Alamance all her life. And so we have 3 beautiful kids. They all go to public schools here in Alamance. 2 of them go to the early college, and 1 goes to Garrett Elementary School. I'm a product of public schools. You know, I'm a first responder still. So I grew up as a paramedic and worked in Durham for a number of years as a paramedic supervisor. And because we run ambulances so often, you know, I kept my certifications up. And so I'm a first responder here in Alamance with Alamance Rescue. I serve on the planning board, where I've been there for the last 3 years, appointed by the current county commissioner board. They appointed me about 3 years ago. And serve in the community, been serving in other capacities ever since I've been in Alamance.
Well, welcome to Alamance, and you're definitely a credit to our county and our community. Glad that you're here.
Yes, sir.
Why run for county commission?
Well, there's a need, you know. Going the political journey has never been in my thoughts of something I wanted to do in life. But when I came to Alamance and, you know, I'm involved in my kids' schools, I volunteer on a regular basis. So I get a chance to see, you know, the disparities that go on in schools, talk to the teachers, and then working in the community where I have been, I get a chance to see a lot of things. And I felt like that from watching the county commissioners meetings and attending them, it seems like there's a huge part of the community that doesn't seem to have any representation. I believe representation matters. And I took the initiative to learn about the county commissioners and what they do and what they're responsible for and how they impact everyday voters and citizens like myself. And I decided that it's important for me to stay in tune, speak up when need to be spoken to, and ask the community what they think and make sure they stay informed. And so then I saw the current commissioners and how they make decisions that affect us, and just the demographics of the commissioners and just kind of what they advocate for and the huge chunk of things that they don't advocate for. And I decided it's time to stop sitting on the sideline and see what I can do about it and bring my skill sets that I've learned over the years to the table, that I can bring a valid voice and decision-making ideas to that board that's desperately needed.
If you had to pick out maybe 1 or 2 or 3 things that sort of serves as the foundation of you running this term, what are they?
I would say persistence is one. And it's because this is the 3rd election that I've ran for this office. Okay. But the work still needs to be done. And I feel like that the community is dependent on me and someone like me to be able to go out and speak for them, because they may not have the courage to speak up and run for an office, because it's a tough thing to do. And you have to develop some thick skin. And I look at all the needs across this county and how they're continually being ignored, and they're just patterns and trends of long-term neglect. And that driving factor is one of the major things that I would say is why I'm running again, because being persistent. The second piece is healthcare is important to me. And as a paramedic, we don't worry about if you're Republican, Democrat, Independent. If we receive a 911 phone call and we go we don't ask you. It doesn't even matter to us. We attend to your emergency. And I think that's the piece that's missing from public service now, especially local government. We're so politicized over the last few years that we're almost looking after certain groups and demographics versus making sure we do the business of the public, because it's in the very word, public servant. So it's time that we start serving the public. And so that's the reason why I'm driving, because we run ambulances on a regular basis every day, and the public don't realize. And I think that as a taxpaying citizen, if you dial 911, you deserve an ambulance, regardless what side of town you're on. And I think current county commissioners may not understand the value of ensuring that they have what they need to be able to respond to those emergencies, as well as our schools, which is the foundation of any community, making sure they're taken care of. And so I look at it from an angle of, because those needs have not been met and they're still being neglected, I can't sit idle on the sideline. I have to continue to do what's been instilled in me, do something about it.
I noticed, I'm going to jump right in on something that's current in our county, watching our county commissioners, that they have just voted, I think it's 37 million, I may have the figure wrong, to build a new courthouse. And I guess they deemed that a priority. If you were on the county commissioner, if you were a present county commissioner, would you have voted for that with all the other needs that's going on?
Me personally, I would say no, because I look at, when you look at priorities, if you want to know the priorities of any county, you look at their budget. And right now we have a lot of needs in our county, and we have a lot of evaluations that need to be had on how we actually spend the money. And I couldn't, in good conscience, vote for the courthouse need right now. It is a need. I do believe there is a need for expansion and space from a safety aspect, from just the operations aspect and a workload piece. However, I believe that there are other priorities that probably should have trumped that one, that were not brought up prior to making that decision.
What are those priorities?
Our education system. I mean, I really believe that the numbers were just published the other day about where we rank and how our school performance is. And I think that no one, especially in county leadership, have taken the time to connect the dots and kind of where county commissioners fit in that overall success of our public schools. I mean, they're underfunded, which causes a trickle effect. If they're underfunded and they can't have the resources that they need to be successful to teach our kids, that contributes to that performance rating. If their kids and staff are in facilities, which is what the county commissioners are responsible for, that are subpar in many cases, dealing with mold, having a drip, listen to that while you're trying to take a test, teachers mopping floors. So turnover is super high as far as the teachers is concerned and other staffing pieces. All that contributes to the success of a child. Because I remember back when first day of school, when I think about it, you know, those times when we were able to wear some new shoes or just a nice outfit, you tend to do better when you feel better and when you're in an environment that's conducive to learning. And I think all these pieces in these different departments, they play an intricate part in the success of our kids. And we really need to stop playing politics and really take care of our kids and our staff and our teachers and make sure that we can be a better school system and then be a collaborative voice with our ABS school board to make sure that they're successful as well.
So from your vantage point and moving around the county, you talked about facilities.
Yes, sir.
Do you think that our schools are in better condition and ready for the students from a facilities standpoint?
No, sir. And it's evident when I go and tour some of the facilities. So I have a flexible working job where I'm able to visit schools during the day. And like I mentioned before, I'm always in our schools. That's why I get a chance to meet a lot of the teachers and kind of hear from them who've gone to other schools. And then a few years ago, myself and a couple other candidates took a tour of some of the schools in the community that were having the upgrades done. And I saw disparities all across the county, depending on where you were, how old the school is. I looked at the age of our schools, and there's some close to 100+ years old. And we really ought to have the conversation is there such thing of schools aging out? You know, I'm not saying we have enough money to build all brand new schools, then that may not be appropriate. But I don't think anyone has ever looked at the ages of the school and is it currently work? Is it safe? And that's the reason why there's been such long-term neglect with roofing and just the infrastructure of the facility itself with leaking through the walls and those type things, and just
So some of our schools still have leaky walls and
yes, sir.
mold.
And like right now, the priority for the commissioners, if we've been keeping up, is, the roofing and the HVAC. Those are just two components of the needs to make sure the facilities are stable and conducive to learning, because waterproofing needs to take place. Some structures might need to be torn down and rebuilt. Windows, heating bills and electric bills are through the roof. Well, because perhaps it's the windows that are in the schools, and then insulation. I mean, there's a lot of different factors that is not being addressed,
because a lot of money has already been spent. I guess that's
right.
yeah. So besides persistence, healthcare, schools, what are some of your other major concerns as to why you're running and that kind of thing?
So serving on the planning board opened my eyes about a lot of things, especially the growth that's happening to Alamance County. And we have a unique board. We all come from various different backgrounds, but it is giving me the opportunity to meet the community, especially in the county, that may not always speak up. Because like I mentioned, the current county commissioners, they're in a small demographic area. In fact, they're in one side of town.
Right.
So who's advocating for those that live in the county, like my mother-in-law and so forth? But the growth is inevitable. I mean, I think there's no way we're going to stop the growth. And I think the fact that we don't have any type of zoning or planned tools to help us manage the growth, that's a concern of mine. And I feel like it's far too long for a county the size of ours, the population of ours, to not have any tools to manage growth. And so that's another priority of mine, to kind of look at how we currently manage growth, whether that's through ordinances or some type of zoning, whether it's partial zoning or at a basic level. And I want to see that come to fruition as well, because if not, it's going to get out of control. And then once it gets out of control, now our county services are at even dire strains, like our public safety, even the other resources that we have within the county, they become strained. And then our infrastructure with roads, et cetera, that is kind of outside of our remit, they become, they get to a point where we're in worse off shape than we were, because we allow the growth to continue to come in and we're playing catch up and reactive, like we've been doing far too long in Alamance County.
Medman is really just mushrooming with growth. And even the southern part of the county, I live in the southern part of the county, and just seeing, the housing construction, apartments. So I just wonder what's going on with infrastructure and planning. Is there a 10, 15, 20-year plan, for the county?
Right, and honestly, there's not. I think that's the issue. We've been in a reactive nature in Alamance County. If you look at all the minutes and all the years and start talking to the residents, we wait until stuff happens, then we respond to it. As a first responder, we plan on a regular basis for disasters before they get here. And that's the reason why we're better prepared whenever a disaster comes. County government should function in the same manner. We shouldn't wait for a disaster to hit before we react to it. We should plan for it years down the line, look at growth. I mean, something as simple as an analogy that I used in another conversation was in the fire service. How do you determine if you need another fire department? You look at the growth over time and kind of what the trend line is, and then you say, okay, because of the number of people who move to this area, the response time it takes to get to these areas, we need another fire station there. I think we should plan the same way. If we have all, building a school that we recently did that my kids play sports with now, that was a good move, but it's actually still a reactive approach, because we're already outgrowing that school before even the first student stepped in.
I heard. And even I'm close to Southern High School. Even with the additions they put over there, I think you still got more students than allotted space. So it's amazing.
Because if you think about it, there's groups that know what the population increases is, but are they communicating with those that create the facilities and so forth? Have we developed a partnership within Alamance County where we can have these discussions about planned growth and what's coming down the line as far as a growth perspective? Because if you build a brand new neighborhood, like over where I live, with 400 houses or 400 units, and you have a school just up the road that's at capacity, where are those kids going to go?
Right.
So there have to be some dialogue, and somebody's willing to take the stand to bring folks together at the table and have those tough discussions and start planning in the future, 5, 10 years, et cetera.
Now, I think going back with the courthouse deal, they're talking about a 1 cent, I think, tax increase kind of thing. So do you think that our tax base is too low for the services that needs to be provided for the county?
I think there hasn't really been a real assessment of that, to be honest. I think it's pretty evident that we don't have enough right now to cover the services that we should provide to the citizens. But I don't think that there's ever been a deep dive into each department's budget to figure out actually what does it cost to run your department. When I've looked at the budgets over the last several years, there's been increases in most of the departments, as you would expect. But when you look at the way that budgets are presented, unfortunately, our county departments have presented what they think they can get approved versus actually what they need. And so when you cut what you think you can get approved, you'll never have enough to get done what you need. And that puts us behind and in a deficit. And I would like to change that mindset, because if you look at the current property tax rate that we have in Alamance County and compare it to some of the larger counties, theirs are actually lower. But the reason being is they have such a large tax base and population that contribute to that, and then therefore their pot is bigger, 1 million dollars, billion dollars, et cetera, versus ours. And so I really believe that if we really want to make a big difference in Alamance, especially as it relates to taxes, we really have to make sure that we are encouraging the behavior is, I want to know what does it cost to run your department, and then make sure the public knows what it is, and then where we currently sit. And then we can make adjustments over time to make sure we have what we need to take care of all the services that we need to take care of in Alamance County. I just don't believe that that's ever been done. And it's pretty evident looking at the school board's budget when it comes to facilities. These issues didn't happen overnight. Right. But there's never really been any proactive planning to say, hey, here's what we need to take care of these next 5 years. Here's what it's going to cost. Here's what we have on hand, and so that our budgets can reflect the needs. And I think the public would be more supportive if that level of transparency was evident in our county commissioners.
What do you think about the area of public safety in our county?
Public safety is definitely a need, especially as population grows. The increases in call volume, as well as in our emergency services in general. And you want response times to be pretty quick, especially from a public safety perspective. I believe that from looking at budgets over time, that in any organization or even municipality, the public safety budget is usually the highest one. And then that's no different at the county level with the sheriff's office. But I believe that we should treat them like a department and make them produce the same things that we ask from our other departments, because at the end of the day, they're a department. Correct. And then we make sure they're supported. As a first responder, I see the value. We need to make sure that we continue to stay supported financially to be able to get to stay on top of training, have the best and latest equipment, because I guarantee you the criminals are looking at ways to do more damage than and not staying back in the time. So we should also kind of adapt.
Criminals are usually innovative.
That's right.
As well as creative.
Yeah.
Well, tell me a little bit about your campaign. How are things going?
Things are going actually great. I'm very, very optimistic about this year. I'm getting some interesting having some interesting conversations with more than just one party wanting the change. And I think that it's time for the change, and the time is now. But I think what's resonating well with the voters is moving away from the finger pointing and looking at how can we bring folks together. Alamance County is not Durham, not Orange, not any other county. We have our own unique challenges, and I feel like it's time for a candidate that's willing to address the needs of Alamance County and put those needs first over party, and not to ignore those groups. And that seemed to resonate well with voters, because I believe it's much needed. And I look at the last several years, there's transparency. It's all been a Republican board. And even they're having issues with within that board in the same party. So that tells me there that it's time for a change, and it's time for someone that's willing to bring folks together and partner with other departments, especially with the school board, versus isolating and just kind of acting like one is more important than the other.
Yes, a lot of back and forth between those two.
Yes, sir.
In particular.
Yeah. So I'm excited. I'm motivated. We're going on an all out, all in is my slogan that I use now, because I feel like, it's time to put it all on the table.
Good.
There's a lot of factors that are stacked up against me being countywide and an at-large type system in a county such as Alamance. But the need is there, and we're going to go all out, and we're going to go all in and leave it on the table, and we're going to let the voters decide. That's
great. That is great. That is great. That is excellent. Do you think that Alamance County is sort of feeling national politics over local, because there's a lot of things going on with the top of the ticket, so to speak, with presidential stuff, and some with governor. So therefore, what kind of relationship do you think that have on the county politics as we move toward November 5th?
Yeah, I think it does. Because of the nature of our county. I mean, you can't help but look at the top of the ticket.
Right.
But what I've been intentional about is reminding folks of what we're dealing with locally, and how the folks that are in office locally is what affect what we deal with on a regular basis, our kids deal with on a regular basis, and what are we going to do about that? So I tend to steer clear. I have my own personal views about the top of the ticket and so forth. And I'm, if asked, I share that. But honestly, I bring it right back to locally. Are you satisfied with the current conditions locally with our county commissioners, with, all the other aspects that the county is supposed to provide? If that answer is yes, then continue to vote for who you vote for. But if you're not, vote for change.
Good. Well, and any closing remarks you want to share with us before we move it to a conclusion?
Yeah, sure. I mean, this campaign is, even though I'm optimistic and things feel really great, and we have a real shot at winning this time, and not just winning, but being at the top of the vote getter hierarchy, it's going to take a lot of work, and it's going to take some uncomfortableness. And, obviously, if folks are able to donate to the campaign, whether it's financially or volunteer or just spread the word, and then show up, that is evident that you really want the change. And I feel like, keep us in prayer, because it's, you hear a lot of things, and things are just not easy. But I really believe the time is now, and would love the support of those. And I feel like if people get to know who I am as a person versus what I have behind my name as a D, or an R, even for that matter, for others, and really get to know who they are as a person, vote for that person that would do the best good. And experience matters. I deal with it on a regular basis in my private job now, managing a global team of lots of different individuals and personalities. And I believe you need somebody that have a proven track record of bringing folks together from all walks of life and coming up with solutions versus pointing out all the problems.
If someone wants to get in touch with Anthony Pierce or want to be a part of Anthony Pierce's team, give us the contact information.
Several ways. You can contact me direct via the website at voteanthonypierce.com. I'm on Facebook, on Instagram, and those social media platforms. And there's even a number as well. You can text, call the campaign number direct at 919-275-2554. And I'd be more than happy to sit down and have you be a part of the team and see how we can contribute to get this win in November.
All right. Well, just do a little voter education kinds of things. So let's say I'm just moving into the county. What do I need to do so I can get connected?
If you're just moving into the county, I highly encourage you first to update your voter registration. You can do that several ways. You can pick up or download the form offline if you want to, or there's lots of different organizations that's doing voter registration drives, but you can go directly.
Including Ebenezer. Every Sunday, after every service, we are registering.
Absolutely. And, or you can go directly to the Board of Elections and update your registration then. That's step one. But let's just say you didn't get a chance to. Highly encourage you to go to early voting, which starts just next month. And then you can register or update your registration and vote all at the same time.
Where will early voting be held?
Early voting this year will be held in the county seat, which is in Graham. I think it's going to be at the Graham Rec Center. That will be one location. We'll also be at the Elmira Community Center. We was able to secure that facility again this year. There will also be at the Mebane Art Center, is another location. And then the Conodal Senior Center is the fourth one. And it seems like there's one other one somewhere, but I'm not 100% sure where that may be. But go to the Board of Elections for Alamance and you'll be able to see that complete list.
What do we need? Any kind of ID?
Yes, this year you will need a photo ID. There's been approvals to, as of recently to kind of go over what types of ID would be accepted, but you would need an ID that matches, your current address or your voter registration card. And if you don't have an ID, let's just say you don't have a car and you don't have a driver's license, you can go up to the Board of Elections and secure an ID there. They would do one free of charge, and you don't have to make an appointment. You just go up there and they'll take care of it. If you need a ride, I know if you contact my campaign, we'll make sure you get a ride to get a voter ID to the Board of Elections if needed as well.
All right. I have a student that's in college in North Carolina, or even out of North Carolina, but they're a North Carolina citizen. How should I encourage that student then?
That student is, number one, you can do, if you're at Elon as an example, there's provisions in place for you to be able to vote, and obviously do the early voting so that you can make sure you can do the provisional ballot, and you can either make the decision to vote in your home state, home county, etc., or you could register and vote here in Alamance, which is what I would love for you to do.
Sure. Last thing, why should I vote for Anthony Pierce?
It's an opportunity to bring about change, and much needed change in Alamance. And I believe that it's time that we have folks that are in these leadership positions that are true champions for education, that are true champions for those voices being heard, and that have the business acumen, the background and experience, and proven experience of leadership, which is so desperately needed to be successful in the county leadership role. And you'll have all that within me. And it's not just political speak, because whether I'm elected or not, I will continue to do the work, continue to show up, continue to advocate for, and it's been proven leading up to this election, and it will be after this election. And I believe it's time for change, and the change is now.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.